Who's good, who's bad, who's best, who's worst. We always think in those terms, in the extreme terms. I don't like to think that way.
In the annals of cinematic history, few figures loom as large or cast as complex a shadow as Marlon Brando, the brooding genius who fundamentally transformed the landscape of American acting. From his electrifying debut in A Streetcar Named Desire to his iconic whisper in The Godfather, Brando didn't merely perform roles. He inhabited them with a psychological intensity that redefined what it meant to be an actor.
Why do you downgrade acting as a profession over the years?
It is a business, no more than that. Those who pretend that it's an art, I think, are misguided.
His method approach, mumbling delivery, and raw emotional vulnerability broke every established rule of Hollywood performance, inspiring generations while earning him 2 Academy Awards and eternal reverence as cinema's most influential artist. Yet this revolutionary talent came with a price that extended far beyond his own artistic journey.
Tim's the greatest actor ever. He pretends he loves me, he wants something to eat. Get out of here.
Brando's uncompromising commitment to his craft, combined with his unpredictable behavior and disdain for traditional Hollywood conventions, created seismic friction with many of his most accomplished contemporaries. These weren't simple personality clashes or professional jealousies, but fundamental disagreements about the nature of acting itself, the responsibilities of stardom, and the balance between individual artistic expression and collaborative filmmaking. The conflicts we explore today reveal how Brando's groundbreaking methods, while transforming cinema forever, often alienated veteran performers who had built their careers on discipline, reliability, and mutual respect. These behind-the-scenes tensions illuminate the growing pains of an industry grappling with artistic revolution, where traditional craftsmanship collided with psychological innovation in ways that forever changed Hollywood's creative dynamics.
I think that we couldn't survive a second if we weren't able to act. That acting is the survival mechanism. We act to save our lives, actually, every day.
6. Henry Fonda. Henry Fonda's unwavering commitment to Midwestern values and disciplined craftsmanship created an insurmountable philosophical chasm with Marlon Brando's bohemian artistic lifestyle and psychological approach to performance. The Nebraska-born actor, whose career was built on meticulous preparation and professional reliability, found himself fundamentally at odds with Brando's unpredictable methods and apparent disregard for traditional Hollywood courtesies during their overlapping careers in serious dramatic cinema. The tension first surfaced during the 1950s when both actors were being considered for similar prestige projects that required intense emotional commitment and dramatic weight. According to sources within the New York Times, Fonda allegedly expressed concern about what he perceived as Brando's self-indulgent approach to character development, feeling that legitimate techniques shouldn't require disrupting entire productions or disrespecting fellow performers. Dialogue coach Robert Lewis recalled, "Henry believed that great acting came from disciplined study and respectful collaboration, while Marlon seemed to think chaos and unpredictability were necessary for authentic emotion." The philosophical divide became more pronounced when Brando's off-screen behavior and public statements about conventional acting methods conflicted with Fonda's belief in professional decorum and artistic humility. Production manager William Wyler observed, "Henry represented the old school where you showed up prepared, knew your lines, and served the story, while Marlon appeared to believe that personal expression trumped everything else." The professional friction reached its peak when Brando made disparaging comments about traditional acting techniques, remarks that Fonda interpreted as disrespectful to the craft he had spent decades perfecting. He later stated, "Real emotion doesn't require making everyone around you uncomfortable. The best actors disappear into their roles without making a spectacle of the process." 5. James Stewart. James Stewart's earnest naturalism and humble work ethic created a profound ideological conflict with Marlon Brando's intense psychological methodology and theatrical unpredictability during Hollywood's artistic evolution of the 1950s. The Pennsylvania-born actor, whose career was built on authentic emotional simplicity and collaborative generosity, found himself increasingly disturbed by what he perceived as Brando's self-centered approach to the craft they both claimed to serve. The discord emerged when both actors were competing for similar dramatic roles that required emotional vulnerability without sacrificing narrative clarity. According to sources within Variety, Stewart allegedly questioned Brando's need for elaborate preparation rituals and scene disruptions, believing that genuine emotion should flow naturally rather than being manufactured through psychological manipulation. Script supervisor Helen Deutsch recalled, "Jimmy thought acting should be about truth and service to the story, while Marlon seemed to view every scene as an opportunity for personal exploration." The philosophical gap widened when Brando's mumbling delivery and improvisational tendencies contrasted sharply with Stewart's commitment to clear communication and respectful collaboration. Director Frank Capra observed, "Jimmy understood that the audience's experience mattered more than the actor's process, while Marlon appeared to prioritize his own artistic journey over everything else." The professional tension crystallized when Brando made statements about the necessity of suffering for authentic performance, comments that Stewart found both pretentious and disrespectful to working actors. He later reflected, "The best acting makes people forget you're acting at all. When you're working harder to be noticed than to tell the story, you've lost your way." 4. John Wayne. John Wayne's embodiment of traditional American masculinity and straightforward storytelling created an inevitable collision with Marlon Brando's psychological complexity and unconventional approach to heroic characterization. The Iowa-born icon, whose career was built on unwavering moral clarity and dependable screen presence, found himself philosophically opposed to everything Brando represented about modern acting and its departure from classical Hollywood values. The friction first became apparent during the 1950s when both actors were defining different approaches to masculine screen personas in an industry grappling with changing social attitudes. According to sources within The Hollywood Reporter, Wayne allegedly expressed frustration with Brando's tendency to portray flawed, psychologically troubled characters, feeling that such roles undermine the positive masculine ideals that cinema should promote. Stunt coordinator Yakima Kanut recalled, "Duke believed that movie heroes should inspire audiences to be better, while Marlon seemed interested in showing them how damaged people could be." The ideological divide deepened when Brando's method acting techniques and emotional vulnerability contrasted sharply with Wayne's belief in stoic strength and moral certainty. Director John Ford observed, "Duke represented the old values where men solve problems through action and integrity, while Marlon's characters seemed to create problems through introspection and self-doubt." The professional animosity reached its peak when Brando made public statements questioning traditional notions of heroism and American values, comments that Wayne interpreted as unpatriotic and destructive to the film industry's responsibility. He later stated, "Real men don't spend time analyzing their feelings or making excuses for their behavior. They do what's right and move on." This declaration encapsulated his belief that authentic masculinity required decisive action rather than psychological exploration. 3. Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston's classical theatrical training and epic screen presence created a fundamental artistic conflict with Marlon Brando's improvisational methodology and disdain for conventional preparation during their parallel careers in prestigious dramatic productions. The Northwestern University-educated actor, whose performances were built on extensive research and disciplined technique, found himself increasingly opposed to what he perceived as Brando's undisciplined approach to serious material. The tension emerged during the 1950s when both actors were being considered for similar historical and biblical roles that required commanding authority and emotional gravitas. According to sources within Film Quarterly, Heston allegedly criticized Brando's tendency to ignore script directions and historical accuracy in favor of personal interpretation, feeling that such liberties showed disrespect for both the material and the collaborative process. Dialect coach William Tuttle recalled, "Chuck approached every role like a scholar preparing for an exam, while Marlon seemed to think instinct and spontaneity were more important than knowledge and preparation." The philosophical disagreement intensified when Brando's casual attitude toward research and rehearsal contrasted sharply with Heston's belief in thorough preparation and professional responsibility. Director William Wyler observed, "Chuck understood that playing historical figures required respect for their legacy and careful study, while Marlon appeared to believe that psychological truth mattered more than factual accuracy. 2. George C. Scott. George C. Scott's rigorous theatrical discipline and uncompromising professional standards created an explosive philosophical conflict with Marlon Brando's improvisational methods and perceived disregard for traditional craft during their overlapping careers in serious dramatic cinema. The Virginia-born actor, whose performances were forged through intensive stage training and militant preparation, found himself fundamentally opposed to what he viewed as Brando's self-indulgent approach to the sacred art of acting. The discord first surfaced during the 1960s when both actors were competing for similar roles requiring intense psychological depth and commanding screen presence. According to sources within Theater Arts magazine, Scott allegedly expressed outrage at Brando's tendency to ignore directorial guidance and script requirements, believing that such behavior demonstrated contempt for the collaborative nature of professional theater and film. Stage manager Robert Whitehead recalled, "George believed that acting was a craft requiring absolute dedication and respect for the material, while Marlon seemed to think rules were meant to be broken for the sake of spontaneity." The ideological chasm widened when Brando's mumbling delivery and unpredictable behavior contrasted sharply with Scott's commitment to vocal precision and reliable performance. Director Sidney Lumet observed, "George approached every role like a military campaign, with strategy and discipline, while Marlon appeared to view each scene as an opportunity for personal experimentation." The professional animosity reached its breaking point when Brando made statements dismissing traditional acting techniques as outdated, comments that Scott interpreted as disrespectful to generations of dedicated performers. He later declared, "Real artistry requires discipline, not self-indulgence. When you abandon technique for ego, you're not serving the art, you're betraying it." 1. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra's legendary professionalism and no-nonsense work ethic created an explosive clash with Marlon Brando's method acting approach during their collaboration on Guys and Dolls in 1955. The chairman of the board, accustomed to recording multiple songs in single takes and maintaining absolute precision in his performances, found himself increasingly frustrated with Brando's need for endless rehearsals and psychological preparation that disrupted the entire production schedule. The tension reached its boiling point when Brando's insistence on multiple takes and character exploration conflicted with Sinatra's preference for efficient, one-take perfection. According to detailed accounts from The Hollywood Reporter, Sinatra allegedly grew so exasperated with Brando's methods that he began referring to him as Mumbles and openly questioned his professionalism on set. Assistant director Arthur Jacobson recalled, "Frank would arrive knowing every line, every mark, ready to deliver a perfect performance, while Marlon wanted to explore and experiment with each scene endlessly." The philosophical divide became apparent when Brando's psychological approach to character development contrasted sharply with Sinatra's instinctive emotional delivery style. Director Joseph Mankiewicz observed, "Frank believed that if you knew the material and felt the emotion, that was enough, while Marlon needed to understand every psychological motivation behind each gesture." These professional conflicts reveal the seismic shift Brando brought to Hollywood, where revolutionary artistry collided with established traditions. His genius transformed cinema while challenging every convention of collaborative filmmaking. Subscribe for more behind-the-scenes entertainment revelations.